Okay, so, I'm not usually one for petty revenge, but this situation kind of spiraled out of control, and I'm still not entirely sure how I managed to pull it off. It all started with a new policy at my kid's high school cafeteria. My son, Liam, is a relatively picky eater, mostly because he's got some texture sensitivities. He can't stand anything mushy. School lunches have always been a struggle. Before this year, he could at least pick and choose from the offerings, usually grabbing a pre-made salad, some fruit, and maybe a bread roll. But this year, Principal Thompson, a man whose personality could curdle milk, decided the school needed to cut costs and improve efficiency. His solution? Eliminating all a la carte options and implementing a mandatory, chef's choice, lunch for everyone. One meal, take it or leave it. If you didn't like what Chef Ramsey Jr., as we jokingly called him, was dishing out that day, you could starve. I, along with a significant portion of the other parents, tried to reason with Thompson. We pointed out dietary restrictions, allergies, picky eaters, like Liam, and the fact that forcing kids to eat food they disliked was likely to increase food waste, not decrease it. Thompson, however, was unshakable. He had spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, and an unwavering belief in his own genius. This is for the good of the school, he declared at a particularly heated PTA meeting. Trust the system. So, trust the system we did. For about a week, the first few days were a disaster. Liam came home hungry and complaining about slimy mystery meat and vegetables that looked like they'd been chewed on and spat out. Other parents reported similar issues. The school's trash cans overflowed with barely touched lunches. Then came the social media posts, pictures of congealed gray slop with captions like, "This is what they feed us," and, "Is this a biohazard?" That's when I had an idea. A terrible, wonderful, maliciously compliant idea. I work as a food safety consultant. I basically help restaurants and food processing plants adhere to health codes and avoid outbreaks of salmonella or E. coli. I know the ins and outs of food handling regulations like the back of my hand. And I realized that Principal Thompson, in his quest for efficiency, had inadvertently created a breeding ground for potential health violations. See, the chef's choice system meant that the cafeteria staff was preparing massive quantities of food hours in advance. These dishes then sat in warming trays for extended periods, often at temperatures that were below the recommended safe holding temperature. I knew this because Liam told me his lunch was often lukewarm by the time he got to it. Now, normally, a minor temperature fluctuation wouldn't be a huge deal. But when you're dealing with hundreds of kids and potentially compromised ingredients, it's a risk. Especially when Chef Ramsey Jr. seemed to have a penchant for cream-based sauces and questionable seafood dishes. So, I did what any concerned, and slightly vindictive, parent would do. I decided to meticulously document the cafeteria's food handling practices. I started by enlisting Liam's help. Every day, he would discreetly take pictures of the serving line, focusing on the temperature gauges on the warming trays. He also had to describe the food in detail, noting its color, texture, and smell. He wasn't thrilled about the task, but he understood the mission. Plus, I bribed him with extra video game time. Then, I recruited some other parents. We organized a rota where at least one parent would be present in the cafeteria during each lunch period. They would observe the staff, noting things like hand-washing practices, cross-contamination risks, and the general cleanliness of the kitchen. They'd chat with the lunch ladies, subtly probing about their training and procedures. We compiled all this data into a comprehensive report. It was a masterpiece of passive-aggressive documentation. We meticulously outlined every potential violation, backing it up with photographic evidence and anecdotal observations. We highlighted the dangers of serving lukewarm cream sauces, the lack of proper hand-washing protocols, and the alarming number of flies buzzing around the open garbage cans near the food prep area. The report was dry, technical, and utterly damning. Once we had our evidence, I decided to play my trump card. I sent the report, along with a politely worded letter, to the local health department. I expressed my sincere concerns about the food safety practices at the high school and requested an immediate inspection. I wasn't expecting much. Bureaucracy moves slowly, and I figured it would take weeks, maybe months, for anything to happen. I was wrong. The health department showed up the very next day. Apparently, my report had hit a nerve. They descended upon the cafeteria like a swarm of locusts, armed with thermometers, clipboards, and a palpable air of disapproval. The school went into lockdown. Lunch service was suspended. Principal Thompson turned an alarming shade of purple. For 3 hours, the health inspectors combed through every nook and cranny of the kitchen. They swabbed surfaces, checked temperatures, and grilled the cafeteria staff. They examined food storage areas, dishwashing equipment, and even the plumbing. When they finally emerged, they had a laundry list of violations that would make even Gordon Ramsay blush. The school's kitchen was immediately shut down. Principal Thompson was apoplectic. He called an emergency meeting with the PTA, where he ranted and raved about unsubstantiated allegations and malicious attacks. He accused me, by name, of orchestrating a smear campaign. He demanded that I apologize and retract my report. I politely declined. I pointed out that the health department's findings spoke for themselves. And then, I dropped the bomb. Principal Thompson, I said, in my most reasonable voice, I'm a food safety consultant. I'm happy to offer my services to help the school bring its kitchen up to code. My rates are very reasonable. The silence in the room was deafening. You could practically hear Thompson's blood pressure skyrocketing. He sputtered for a moment, then finally managed to stammer, "That won't be necessary. We'll handle it internally." But the damage was done. The local news picked up the story. Headlines screamed about high school cafeteria shut down over health violations. Parents were outraged. Even the school board got involved. Principal Thompson was forced to eat crow. He reluctantly agreed to hire an outside consultant, not me, but a colleague I recommended, to oversee the kitchen's overhaul. He also rescinded the chef's choice policy and reinstated the à la carte options. The new consultant implemented a comprehensive food safety plan, including regular staff training, improved sanitation procedures, and a more diverse menu. The cafeteria was transformed from a potential health hazard into a model of culinary best practices. And Liam? He's actually eating lunch at school now. He still avoids the cream sauces, but he's happy with the salad bar and the occasional slice of pizza. The best part? Principal Thompson never directly accused me of being behind the whole thing. He knew that if he did, I'd simply deny it and point to my genuine concern for the students' health. He was trapped. So, yeah, I accidentally revolutionized the school cafeteria. All because one man decided to force-feed my son lukewarm mystery meat. Sometimes, malicious compliance can have unexpected and surprisingly positive consequences. And I'm sure Principal Thompson has learned a valuable lesson about the importance of listening to parents. Probably, maybe, okay, probably not, but at least the kids are getting a decent lunch.